Hey, good morning, Trondheim friends. It's Pastor Sue, and welcome to this week's episode of Patio Ponderings. This is episode 16 of our third season. I'm glad you decided to join me. I am down the hall from my office. I'm hiding in the corner. I have to ask him something, and I'm afraid to. I'm afraid she's going to get mad at me. I'm afraid she's going to think I'm stupid for asking. I'm afraid she's going to think that I should already know the answer. So I'm just going to stay down here and not have to do it. So here's what I'm thinking about this week. In the text that we had last night for our Ash Wednesday service, Jesus is with his disciples and he tells them again. This is what he says. He says, the human one will be delivered into human hands and they will kill him. 3 days after he is killed, he will rise up. And then it says, but the disciples didn't understand this kind of talk, and they were afraid to ask him. And this is what has me really thinking, like, why were the disciples so afraid to ask Jesus about this? Because this is a pretty out there concept that the person that they think is going to save them would die and then rise again. There's a lot to not understand about that. So why were they so afraid to ask them? Maybe they thought Jesus would think they're stupid. Maybe they thought they should know the answer. And you know, there's maybe a little reason for them thinking that way, because in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus sometimes gets pretty frustrated with his disciples. But it seems like if they're going to ask him about anything, it would be this topic. And yet they're afraid to do so. Maybe they're just afraid of the answer. What about that? Maybe you can relate. Have you ever wanted to or needed to ask somebody about something and you were afraid to do it? A parent, a scary manager at work, a coach, or a professor, or a teacher at school. You know, those people that are so smart and they know everything, and you just think, boy, they're just going to think I'm so stupid if I ask this question. I bet we can all relate to that. But do we need to be afraid to ask Jesus anything? So here's what I've been thinking about is, how does Jesus invite us into those harder conversations? Well, when Jesus talks about prayer with the disciples in the book of Matthew, Jesus says that we don't need to come to God with empty words or fancy language, because the Father knows what we need before we ask. Jesus already knows what our questions are. Jesus already knows what we are struggling with. So we can simply ask without fear. In one of our most recent readings in Mark, it says Jesus tells the disciples that the Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. So even if we can't find the words we need to ask the questions we want to ask, or to talk about the things that we want to talk about, we can trust the Holy Spirit to intercede for us, to help us find the words, to help us in our communication with Jesus. That's pretty reassuring, I think. I think that helps us get over what we might be afraid to talk to Jesus about. Now, if I can only get over my fear of talking to Kim, then we're good to go. What about you? What do you think about fear in bringing up questions to God? Have you ever had that experience? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Enjoy the beautiful sunshine. I know there's probably some mixed feelings about the snow out there, but it is a beautiful day out there. So enjoy it, and I hope to see you Sunday. Bye.